Dylan's outing ended with the 2 home runs. Your thoughts on his outing overall today?
Really good. I mean, really good. The two, on the mark early were, made some good pitches. Balls fell in. Did a nice job overcoming it. Thought he really cruised through. Thought the stuff was crisp. Through 5 and long inning got him. I don't know, the homers, but overall, really pleased with Dylan today. I thought he was outstanding.
It seemed like there have been some outings this year with him where when things have started to go wrong in an inning, it's been tough for him to get out of it or put it into it. But today it just seemed like he was really in command even out of the stretch throughout, even though things were going on around him.
I think that's an excellent point, Stan. I think that's spot on. Like I said, some balls fell, and he's got traffic, and he just put his shoulders back and said, "All right, I'm doing C's. I'm pretty nasty," and he did a great job eliminating anything beyond that, and just kept cruising.
The offensive outburst in the 5th inning, is that an example of you do the little things, the big things can happen?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the 3rd though with Cronies at bat. We didn't score, and I should have written down the number of pitches he saw in that at bat, 12. But that's the bat that, and when he came in, he's frustrated because he didn't end the way he wanted to. But I thought Ruben made a good point to him as he went by. It's like, you just took an inning off that guy. But whether he took an inning or not, the fact of the matter is he made the gas tank go a little more dry, and so that leads to the 4th, and then leads to the 5th, and then now we're in a better situation. And yes, to ultimately answer your question, this team's equipped to beat you in a lot of different ways, and it was on display again. Last night, it's on display today. Middle of the field, I loved our approach with the runners in scoring position. Way better. Bogey with the sac fly, I thought that was fantastic. Just loved the way we were going about our at-bats there. And then the bunt game, it's real. It's part of it. And Vermeen's an excellent bunter. He's been really trained well over there. And Toddy's shown it, and today put it together with the timing, good time for it, under control, boom. That's there, and then Louis follows up to move runners and bring them in. So, today was one of the games that I enjoyed the most this year out of this team, because we didn't start off with our A game, and that's going to happen. You're just going to have games like that. The human factor kicks in. But the championship clubs, the teams that they regroup really quickly, and so down early wasn't as pretty as we'd like, wasn't as clean as we'd like, and it was like, nah, let's kick it into gear this game, and we did, and that's what really good teams do. Yeah, really proud of the group.
Yeah, given what you just described, how important was it to be able to do that after the frustrating weekend last week, and then considering the Dodgers are coming into town and have that kind of momentum after today?
I think it's important regardless, quite frankly. It's a trait that regardless where in the schedule, that winning teams just do those things. They cover themselves in the game itself.
How pleased were you with how you were able to sort of manage, or have been able to manage your higher leverage guys? You didn't have to use them like in emergency situations. You were able to get them some work.
Yeah, no, I mean, it helps on a lot of fronts. It helps in the sense that we have a deep bullpen. Wandy and David have contributed to that clearly as well with the other 5, Estrada, Morihone, Adams, Suarez, and Miller, no particular order, obviously. And Yuki's done his part as well of late as well. But the offense, I mentioned last night, the offense being able to dictate the game and being able to take control of the game as well and be able to get leads, it sets us up to be a little more judicious. Also, we have those leads, there's a little more freedom for starters. JP was able to get through 6 last night, really big. Takes an inning off the bullpen, gets to pass that inning around. Today we ran Dylan out for the 6, but he got through 5. Got a nice lead. Then at that point, it's 8-4. We got guys that are fresh and ready to bring it home and put them in the right lanes, and they did their part.
Your final answer last night about being the same every day, and then what you just said here about regardless of schedule. I know how you feel about that. That said, Dodgers coming to town 2nd weekend in a row. What is your level of anticipation here?
I think look, we're excited. I mean, listen, we're not, we are human, and we are aware of what's going on, and we are aware of, you know, how we didn't put absolutely our best foot forward. You know, we competed well, we just couldn't get on the good side of it. So yeah, but you know, ultimately it's about execution and playing the game, and I'm really excited and can't wait for tomorrow night. I wish it was tonight.
How was Jackson today? Can you tell us about what he did today too?
The thing with Jack, more or less the same. So you know, there's even more clarity about what he's dealing with, and so now that we've continued to narrow that down and you know get more specific about treatment and plan, it will only accelerate his healing. Now it's a matter of how quickly he heals, and you know we'll convene tomorrow and see how he feels, and we'll evaluate the next steps.
What is the official diagnosis?
Basically, it's a kind of it's a bone bruise with some ankle sprain with that you know is running through a ligament, but it's not, nothing's torn. No, the imaging was clean, just really tender and sore. If you've had a you know sprained ankle, you'd know. I'm sure we all have, right?
You said you'll kind of decide what you're going to do with him tomorrow. What is the consideration though with the IL versus he's you can only backdate it 3 days?
Yeah, I think it's all there. I mean, we'll just get a gauge on, really, quite frankly, we're going to give every leniency to see if he can come back. But if it's just clear that we think we're going to push it and he's not going to be able to do it, we're not sure, then, you know, we'll consider a move. But AJ will weigh in on that.
Your bullpen looks to be in really good shape for this time of year, and why do you think that is? And if you could go all the way back to the beginning, or is it, aside from workload, conditioning and certain other things guys are doing?
Yeah, it's a holistic.
Training staff?
Yeah, it's really a, you know, it starts and stops with the player. You know, their dedication. You know, we have a support system, and I include the field staff as a support system that's in place, and without getting on a 15-minute, you know, dialogue here about, you know, maintenance of bullpens and usage of bullpens that people may or may not find interesting. The highlights are our guys are really efficient with their pitches. You know, a lot of people get, and understandably, you know, he went 1 2/3, he went 2, he went 1 1. You know, outside of the up and down, which we factor in, it's the efficiency of the pitches they use. And our bullpen, they're really efficient. They throw a lot of strikes. And so the more efficient you are, then you don't have to work as hard, and the more you can recover as well. And then the recovery with this group is really A++. They're a very dedicated group, individually, collectively. They get in that training room, they take care of themselves, they show up the next day. They're very sincere about how they work. They're also, you know, big part of this is, you know, we do our part as a staff, and you know, ultimately it falls on me to be clear where they can show up in games. So when that phone rings relative to the score situation and where we're at in the lineup, they almost always know and can anticipate. Really, even before the phone rings, they can start to get their body loose and start to do their plyos and whatever their routines are to get them ready. And if they don't know that, and they're constantly just all down there getting ready at the same time, or not aware of what that looks like, then that adds up. So it's all incremental things that go in our favor. And then the last thing is we trust them to be honest with us. You know, if they need a day, they need a day. If they can only finish an inning, they finish an inning. If they are going to get up, they need to get in, they can tell us that. If they got 1+, they can communicate that. You know, whatever the scenarios are. And it's not about, we'll figure out the puzzle. We just need to know what the availability is for the puzzle. But they deserve all the credit in the world of how they work.
Thanks. We've talked a lot about how great this stadium is, but you guys now 20 games over 500 at home. Is there such a thing as Petco Park baseball? And you guys kind of cracked the code this year on what this team might be to find the success here?
I don't know the record last year, but I felt like, you know, early on, you know, there was a growing to learn how to compete here with the fervor that is Petco Park, the enthusiasm, the passion. And now, you know, it's clearly something that our club embraces and enjoys. And I mean, listen, it's hard to say it's the best, you know, that's subjective, but because there's a lot of great stadiums that are loud and, you know, fan bases that are into supporting their team passionately. I'd put us against anybody though, and I can tell you this: nobody, including in the off season when I talk to either opposing managers or players or even umpires, are like, this environment is the hardest environment to compete and focus in, and it's a real advantage for us. Grateful for it. Grateful for the faithful.